Hey, good morning. I'm Sam Kennedy. Welcome to Glendale Farm. This is the farm I grew up here on Glendale. It's about 210 acres, roughly 130 acres in pasture. And we raise cattle, sheep, used to raise goats, and then we do pasture chickens also. So I guess you could say I'm more of a grass farmer than a shepherd per se or a cattleman per se, but they all work together. I know we're talking about small ruminants today, so I'll kind of give you the history of our sheep operation specifically. I've tried a lot of things that are pretty different than traditional sheep farms. Some have been successful and some definitely have not. And every year has been different because we've been growing every year. We've been taking on new land every year, adjusting our species mix. So it's not like I have a system in place. So every year sort of looked a little different, and that makes it hard to measure sometimes. So, anyways, so my parents took over the farm from my great uncle about the time I was in 8th grade, and I guess they did cow-calf for a while, and then somewhere along the line at a grazing conference, it was 2003, they learned that they could add 1 ewe per cow and it wouldn't affect your stocking rate with the cattle. And we had been, and I'll talk to you about the map here in a little bit, but we had been putting in all the infrastructure for rotational grazing since about 2000. Slowly putting in all these fences. So they tried it, they got 6 ewes to run with the cows. And when I moved home in 2010, we were up to about 60 ewes. And kept a closed flock until 2014. We were up to about 200 ewes. And then I tried to go big for a little while. We got up to 400 ewes, and now we're back down to about 150 ewes and lambs. We've also taken on more land since then. So this is the home farm, which we do our direct marketing operation from, and then we're running on about 1,250 acres of pasture right now on 4 different farms. And all the sheep now are back on this farm. They were on a farm in Williamson County and here, but we're trying to simplify. So I guess that's sort of where we're at now. And on this farm, I'll show you now how it's set up. You can see these tree lines were all the old fixed fences when we started, and all these red lines here, it's 20 permanent pastures, are high tensile electric fence. And we do rotational grazing basically, or some people call it management intensive grazing, some people call it holistic grazing, but we like to do multi-species grazing. For a variety of reasons, but so at any rate, we'll have all the animals in one of these paddocks, cattle, sheep, used to be goats together, and then if we want to be more intense, we'll further subdivide one of these fixed paddocks with temporary fencing, depending on what the time of year. And so we'll rotate around, but what that does is, you get intense grazing in one field and the rest of the farm's getting rest. And that's particularly important with sheep because of parasite management's a big deal in the southeast. And when you run them with cattle, they're dead-end hosts for a lot of their parasites, all of them but one, I think. And that rest period helps keep them out of their own feces and helps break the life cycle of the parasites if your rest period's long enough. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention that we're running hair sheep, Katahdins. I've never fooled with wool sheep, though I like them. Through my work with the Tennessee Sheep Producers Association, I've gotten to know many fine wool producers, but we don't shear. Too much labor for us, and we originally selected the hair sheep for lower labor, adaptability to our humid climate, and some of them have documented parasite resistance. So that's a big part of all of our sort of general philosophy, cattle, sheep, and whatever, is that the animal has to be adapted to our environment here in Tennessee. And not every cow, not every sheep is going to come in here and thrive under the system we have, which is very different than, you know, some small acreage setups or wool sheep, or depending on what you're doing. So that's another reason. Not everything fits on every farm, which most of you already know, but it's really pretty different. So you can't take everything I say as a rule. It's sort of specific to this place. So this year, you'll see when we get out there, in the process of sort of downsizing the flock, we've not actually had cattle on this farm yet this year. So there's a ton of dank rank forage. It's been pretty low stocked, and it's just the sheep here now. And we've currently got the lambs weaned off, and we're probably going to sell most of them. The ones we aren't going to direct market, we'll probably sell most of them this week, and then the ewes are by themselves. It's a low input philosophy, right? So we seek to substitute off-farm inputs like feed, fertilizer, chemicals with more intensive management. So that's the deal. We haven't used a dewormer on the flock yet this year. Probably should have on the lambs, didn't get to it, but if our ewes need worming, they go. You know, they don't fit our program. It's just too much labor. We've been doing a lot of hoof trimming. That's part of the reason our flock has been downsized the last 2 years, and I've about decided I don't like that either, which to the more experienced shepherds out there, they're going, well, duh, you gotta trim feet, but I don't think I'm going to be in the sheep business if I'm trimming much feet. So we have selected and culled down to the hardiest of the hardy, from 400 down to 150, those who needed no trimming or minimal trimming, and we're going to rebuild the flock from those sheep with the hopes of having a parasite resistant and, you know, low maintenance, no shearing, no trimming flock. So that's kind of fits. Multi-species grazing, awesome. The sheep eat so many things that a lot of farmers spend money trying to kill. Weeds, especially broadleafs, become an asset once you have multi-species. You know, your overall pounds produced per acre will be higher than if you had, just because of, you know, sheep sort of in between cattle and goats as far as what they'll eat, browse up high versus grass. So you just get more overall utilization of the forage on your property, the more diversity you add. You'll see the primary problem we have right now is fence maintenance. Once you go to multi-species, your infrastructure costs go up quite a bit because you got to have multiple strands on your fencing, or you got to do page wire. And the 4-wire is cheap and it's easy to put up and it's fast, but there's a lot of maintenance involved, and we've sort of gotten behind on that. And as we've built new fences, expanded to other farms, we've planned much more carefully on the layout and planning to use more temporary fencing and then have strategic page wire instead of this 4-strand high tensile, just for the maintenance reasons. But that is the issue with high tensile in general, is they're cheaper to put up, but the maintenance as far as keeping them hot and keeping them clean and keeping the shorts worked out is constant. So.
Yeah.
And if you get jumpers, you know, they're definitely no good and pressure points on your farm. It's just not put up page wire and be done with it. And when we first started, we were retaining all the ewes every year, trying to grow as fast as I could, and so almost all the wethers got sold as direct marketed to either restaurants or consumers on our farm store. And then we sort of got more than we can move direct, and so, you know, we utilize the traditional, you know, venues, sale barn, some to wholesale purchasers, and pretty much all of those end up in the ethnic market. And so we'll time that to, you know, hit certain holidays, which the EID one's coming up here in early September usually, and we'll try to move some before that, because the other thing, part of low inputs is low winter feed. So, you know, farm looks like a mess right now, but there's a lot of stockpiled forage out there, and there'll be more as the fall fescue comes on. So in the winter, we strip graze, same rotation philosophy, but we tie it down and we'll strip graze each one of these paddocks and try to minimize feed brought in from off the farm. So that's mixed marketing strategy. And then when we get built back up and we get these awesome Tennessee adapted sheep, we're also going to start selling replacement commercial stock. So that's sort of the plan. Not ready for that this year, probably next year.